So reviewing what we looked at here, the verb meaning the event or state, something that happens or is a thing that is in play at some point, a happening. And the tense and aspect are ways of talking about the time, how it appears in time. So the tense is relative to the speaker, what is the time that this thing happened or is happening or will happen. And the aspect is the time structure, or you could say the time perspective that we have about of this thing that we're talking about. So we looked at simple and present and continuous. And after introducing the perfect aspect and the continuous aspect, we can look at how they can be combined with the tense, because you can see this is present perfect. It's relative to the present. So you see it's saying that in this state now where we are, in this moment now that we're in, there is this event that is complete in this moment. But you can do the same thing, of course, with the past. Past perfect would be I had known. I had known. So this is now at some point in the past, relative to some point in the past. This thing had already been complete. And so it's a little bit more of a complicated scenario, because you have to imagine, like, when we're in the present when we're talking. I mean, we're always, everything we say, like, we are always in a present moment speaking. And in this present moment speaking, if I'm speaking in the past perfect, it's like, okay, I'm referring to this reference point in the past and saying at this reference point in the past, this thing had already been complete. I had the end state or the result of this thing. So often, to imagine cases where you can do this, it would be combining with some kind of a condition that makes it clear about this reference point in the past. It's like, by the time he arrived, I had already gone. So you see, using already is a good word for the past perfect, because it's something, this had already happened. This, you see, it's finished by the time of the reference point. So the important thing here is that he's arriving and he finds the resulting state. It's the result of me having left. I left, and the result of me leaving, that's I had gone. That's the resulting state of having left. I had gone, and at this point in the past, he arrived. So this is now in simple past. He arrived in the past, and at that point, he found that there was already this end state, this resulting state of me having left. So because that's the relevant thing. But the relevant thing here is not that I went. It's not some story like, oh, I want to say that I went somewhere. The important thing here, see, that was being communicated, is that I was not there when he arrived. See, this is a case where the relevant thing that we're trying to communicate is the resulting state of the verb. It's like, the important thing was I wasn't there. Why? Because I had already left. The result of me leaving was that I was not there. I had left, and so I was not there when he arrived. So you see here, this simple past points out this reference point. This establishes the reference point in the past. We're now imagining this point in the past, and at that point in the past, we're referring back to something that had already happened. And that's why we're in the past, and we're talking about something that happened already before that point in the past. And that's why the past perfect is often called the past of the past. And it can be a little bit misleading because it's not the same as like simple past, but it's a resulting state that was already there at a point in the past. So it's referring to something that happened before a point already in the past. And so that's why it can be helpful to think of it as the past of the past. So first I leave, then he arrives. So you see I had already. So first, yeah, there's the leaving, and then there's the arriving. So arriving was in the past, and even before the arriving was the leaving. And that is the idea of the past perfect. And of course, we can do the same thing with the future perfect. We can say, I will have known. I will have loved. I will have gone. I will have walked. And this one, it's now imagining a future point. So here you can imagine the same story here, where you can say, by the time he arrives, I will have already gone. So now you can see this is what you could call the past of the future, which sounds like, a funny way of describing the present, but it's still in the future. But you see, here's a future state in, and it's funny that you don't actually say by the time he will arrive. You can just say he arrives. But by the time this happens, at this point, I've already left. So so the tense is about setting the reference point. When you're in the past tense here, you set a reference point of some time in the past. Okay, now here's a completed state before that reference point. So that's past perfect, past of the past. Now in this future form, you establish a reference point in the future. There's some point. He arrives. Okay, this is going to happen sometime in the future. He's going to arrive. So here's the reference point by this time in the future. And you're saying at this time in the future, there will be this resulting state, this finished thing that's already happened by the time of that reference point, the completed thing. So the future is the reference point, and the perfect here is this idea of a completed action. And you can think of it as past of the future, because here's the thing that happens in the future. He arrives. And at some point before that, still in the future, but it's before that point, that reference point we're talking about, there is this completed state. And you can see the word already is a good word to use to work with this.